joined by former Oklahoma State quarterback Clint Chelf. Clint, how are you?
I'm doing well, Robert. Hope you're staying safe in these crazy times.
Yeah, and I've been pretty good about accepting what's going on until really this week. This week, all of a sudden, I don't know if it's the weather. I mean, I go out and walk every day. I think my wife walks me and the dog, and we come home when both of us get tired. We come home. Um, but this week I've actually gotten out in the truck and driven a little bit. Now I haven't done anything crazy, but I just feel the itch to get out a little bit more, and I think probably a bunch of us are going to feel that, and I hope the same for you and your. Now, how's the horse doing? You guys have a horse.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's still he's over in Tulsa, so my wife hasn't been able to go lesson on him, but we're getting updates from the trainer, and she keeps posting pictures. So yeah, it's he's staying in shape, probably a lot better than I am.
Okay, well, that's good. So,
Yeah,
um, and you're in business too with your dad with the insurance agency and on the Cowboy Radio Network. Great sponsors, and you're also involved in our pregame coverage, and that's the other thing. I mean, we're all have kind of have our fingers crossed, and I don't know what we're going to see. Maybe football without fans in the stands, or maybe limited number of fans, but uh, I think the NFL draft last week with the ratings on that on television are a pretty good indication we all want to see football in some form.
yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be a weird. I was talking about that with some of my buddies the other day. It'd just be such a weird scenario not being able to go to a football game or watch games on Saturday and Sunday. I hope that's not a reality, but ultimately, like we all understand that you've got to do what's safe and right. You don't want this thing spreading even more. So yeah, I think we're all just kind of treading water, hoping for the best.
And how about this? Because Clint, you're in the age, kind of. I think things kind of shifted maybe a little bit before you got to college, where it went from having a couple of months off, during the summer or a little more time off. But by the time you got into college football was a 24/7, really 50, maybe 48 weeks out of the 50 52 a year. You were doing something, whether it was off season conditioning, summer workouts on campus. Everybody was in, it was so called voluntary, but we all know everybody was there. So you're more of that age. And now these kids, they've been let loose now for 6 weeks. Can you
Uh,
put yourself in their place? If somebody had said during your career at Oklahoma State, especially during the time you were the starting quarterback, hey, guess what? We're going to have a pandemic, and you and your teammates are going to go home and be separated for 6 weeks because that didn't happen when you were in the program.
no, it didn't. We'd have May off, and when I say off, that just means we weren't in Stillwater. But most of the time, everybody's still working out. So you really got to hope that that everybody's holding themselves accountable and still staying in shape because you never know when you're going to get the call and to come back and have to be ready to go. So, when I was starting, that would be my main focus is stay in touch with those guys. And I was lucky enough to have, a bunch of guys from Oklahoma and close to where I live that we could get together and, work out when it was safe. And nowadays that's probably not the case. So you just got to keep hoping that, stay in touch, text and call and make sure that you've got those guys and making sure that they understand that they need to be ready and that as of now that they could still be playing football. So you got to prepare like it, even when you're not being supervised.
The NCAA medical advisors came out, and it hadn't. I don't think it's been absolutely adopted, but I think it's going to be. They came out with a recommendation that athletes will need 6 weeks preparation, and that's not just. Let's take football. That's not just fall camp. That's maybe a couple of weeks of conditioning into a fall camp. So 6 weeks ideally before they would start competition. Um, let's put you in that position. Uh, if somebody, if you were away, separated with something like we've got going on, and you came back with 6 weeks after not being around your teammates for say a couple of months, which is kind of what this situation is going to be. You think 6 weeks is enough?
You know, probably not. I mean, I think unless like I said, everybody's doing a good job of taking care of themselves. But you'll probably see a little bit of rust those first few games, and I know that typically manifests itself on the offensive side of the ball, unfortunately, because those things are based on timing, and taking that time off would certainly make it more difficult. But as long as everybody's on the same playing field, I think you just have to adapt and overcome, and that's something that Coach Gundy does a good job of making sure that you're accountable, and that when you are getting the work in together, that you're working on the things that you should be working on.
Clint Chelf is with us, former Oklahoma State starting quarterback, MVP in the Heart of Dallas Bowl, and I had some games that I think most of us that were around will never forget. His game at Texas Tech is one that if somebody that's the funny thing. Somebody says, "Hey, Robert, Clint Chelf." The first play I think of is that long run at Tech. It just I can see it. I mean, I can without looking at video, I can see that play and I can describe how it opened up and what you did, and and of course it was kind of down the middle of the field, which is always for a quarterback. Most of the time quarterbacks don't get long runs down the middle of the field, but when people come up to you, oh, you're Clint Chelf. Hey, what was your favorite play? What was your favorite game? How do you answer those questions? I'm sure you get them all the time too.
Yeah, that Texas Tech one's pretty memorable. I think just mainly because I don't think people thought that I had that in me, that I could make it that far without getting caught. So that one, and then obviously the game against Baylor. That's something
Yeah.
that was just I don't know, just all clicked that night. So those two are typically what I go with, and then there are some that don't even involve me. The Fiesta Bowl where my brother had the I call it a
Catch.
game-winning touchdown catch, but he
It should have
we got
been.
overturned. But yeah, so there's a few, but those three mainly stick out for me. That's what I usually go with.
No, that's some good ones. So there's no doubt about that. And the other thing too was that was a fun group. Whedon obviously Whedon is tied to Justin Blackman, and I think that Josh Fields obviously is tied to Rashawn Woods, but it was yeah, your group, and I don't want this to sound bad, but your group, there wasn't necessarily a superstar. It was really more of a group effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that there was the ones you mentioned. There's Zach and Dez. There's Mason and James.
Yeah.
There's Tylen and Spencer, hopefully, and ours was just kind of a group effort on both sides of the ball. We had a ton of really good players. I think we didn't have that one superstar like you said, but we had a bunch of really really good guys, and I think that made it a lot easier on me, and that really helped us, have the season that we did.
Let's look ahead a little bit with this team, and again, we all hope that there's a season. I know that for the first time since 2008, last weekend, no Oklahoma State Cowboy heard his name called in the NFL draft. That breaks a streak going back to 2008, and fans always get kind of angry when they don't have one of their guys drafted in the NFL draft. But when you're returning 10 of 11 starters on defense, and the only guy wasn't returning was probably your strongest prospect in AJ Green, but and AJ claims he had an injury from the Senior Bowl that impacted him in Indianapolis, which I wish if that were the case, he didn't run the 40, because that 4.62 in the 40 is what I think really kind of doomed him as far as getting drafted. Still signs with Cleveland. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball where your two strongest prospects, Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace, decide to come back. Cowboy fans ought to cool their jets a little bit because there's a good reason you didn't have anybody drafted. They're all going to be drafted next year. But as you look at this upcoming season, and I know this is something Dave and I have talked about. You've got a new offensive coordinator that's really an old, veteran coach on this staff in Casey Dunn that I think we're all excited about. Tim Rattay comes in as the quarterback coach. And honestly, when I look at this and this season coming up, it could be very, very special. And I hate to put too much of it on one guy's shoulders, but I think for this thing to be as special as it can be, it's going to be improvement on Spencer Sanders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at this point in football, I think you see it across all leagues. That's just that comes with the territory of playing quarterback. I mean, you're the only guy that touches the ball every play outside of the center. Granted, but you're usually making the decisions of where the ball goes and distributing it. So, yeah, I think a lot of it's going to fall on his shoulders, and I'm sure that he's looking forward to that. I know I did, and I know a lot of quarterbacks do, and that's why you play that position. But I thought he finished the season, when he was healthy, was making better decisions than maybe the second or third game he played. So, he just continues to build on that. I think he'll be fine. He's obviously got the athletic ability. He's got the arm talent. So as he continues to grow in that decision making and accuracy, I think the sky's the limit for him, and if the sky's the limit for him, then that makes the sky the limit for this team and with the talent they have. So, yeah, I really hope for Cowboy fans that we have this season and get the opportunity to see these guys one more time, and he's going to be a guy that if he grows and continues, making strides and getting better, that this could be a really special season.
Clint, you were Casey Dunn was around coaching the receivers when you played. In fact, he coached your older brother that made the Colton making the catch in the Fiesta Bowl. Your thoughts on Casey Dunn?
Oh, I loved Coach Dunn. He was one of the guys that is his whole motto has always been compete. He wants guys that are going to compete to get better, compete with each other to make each other better. And I think he takes that mentality, into the offensive, entire offensive staff and room and with all those players. So, very knowledgeable. He's had the opportunity to work with a bunch of great offensive minds and play callers. And I think, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I think he's got all the weapons he needs, and it's a good time to step in and have those veteran guys like Tylen and Chuba. And I couldn't be more excited for him because he's a good guy, and he knows a lot about football. And like I said, he's got a lot of weapons at his disposal.
Well, and the other thing too, and we had Chris Thurman on yesterday, and he's a defensive analyst, actually offensive analyst, but a defensive coach in the offensive meeting room, longtime assistant coach, and he said, the key to a really good coach is to have the patience when patience is called for, but to be bold when it's time to be bold. And he actually used Casey Dunn and Coach Gundy as well as examples. He said Casey is the kind of guy that when it's time to be bold, he's not going to be scared to be bold.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like I said, he will be I think a great offensive coordinator as far as play calling and like you said, when it's time to take shots, his guys are those receivers, and he wants to get those guys down the field. I mean, I think as a natural receivers coach, receiver guy, I mean, that's what you want, and that's what he is, and he's going to have those guys, especially with the talent with Tylen, to take those shots when he needs to be bold, and I think that's really what that translates to is when he's going to want to be bold, is he's going to have the offense have some trick plays and have some well thought out shots to get those guys the ball, and that's what you need.
Clint Chelf with us for just a couple more minutes, and how has business been for you? I mean, the insurance business is something that I would think probably is not as impacted by something like this. People are still going to want insurance. In fact, they may have more time to think about their insurance needs during a pandemic where they're not, going to work every day or they're working from home. But How has all this impacted what you're doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, I can tell you this, I'm getting really good at dressing from the waist up. A lot of Zoom meetings where I dress from the waist up because that's all they see. But you know, it has been impacted. You know, a lot of my job and you know, younger guys in the industry are trying to build their book of business, and that entails, you know, setting up meetings, lunches, dinners, whatever it is, and meeting with people, and people just won't do that right now. So you
Uh,
know, a lot of time spent on the phone, which is not bad. Definitely not a bad thing, but it's not the same as meeting in person. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of scrutiny being put on this industry, and you know how they're going to cover and handle certain things. But for me, it's been just a little less, I guess, interaction with people in person and more cell phone time. So you know, not a huge difference, but I am getting a lot better at being on webcams and being on Zoom calls. I can tell you that.
yeah, no doubt. Here's the thing. You know, I've I'm trying to think. It was maybe about a week ago. It was the first time I put on something other than gym shorts for about
Yeah,
a month period. I'm like, I actually put on some nicer shorts that had belt loops. My wife goes, "What's the occasion?" I said, "I don't know. I just thought I'd dress up today."
yeah. I've without being able to go to the barber, I've just worn a hat pretty much every day. My wife's like, "You might maybe wash your hair, maybe do it a little bit instead of just throw a hat on every day because I don't see anybody." So
No,
yeah, that's kind of the same vein.
no. Here's the worst part of it. I haven't shaved since this started,
Yeah,
and I've had a mustache and kind of a, the goatee kind of thing going for a long time, and it's gray. Well, I kind of wondered, yeah, Clint, especially with my waistline, I could be a mall Santa. I'm in the mall Santa mode right now.
yeah, yeah. I think for a lot of people that was the first thing to go really with hygiene. It's like, all right, well, I'm not shaving. I mean, I mean, I'm not seeing anybody. I'm sitting at home. Like, there's no reason. And for me, I mean, I have to because I somehow I didn't get the genes to grow any type of facial hair, so it just looks. I mean, it feels terrible, but I know it looks even worse. So
Yeah,
I have. I mean, unfortunately, I have to shave. I wish I didn't,
yeah.
but
Now this is gonna go when it's time. This is gonna go because I don't want to walk down the street and hear some little kid, "Mom, it's Santa." No, I don't want that crap. I don't want to hear it.
well, I
All
know you don't
right.
own much red, so I guess that won't be an
Well,
issue.
yeah, that's the problem. This Santa wears orange. So, yeah, I'm an OSU Santa, not and that's not even that Santa red is more
Yeah, it's
Nebraska.
different.
Yeah, it's not that Sooner thing. So, well, hey, best to you and your wife, your family, your folks, and everybody. And what's Colton up to these days?
You know, he was just up here. They're on quarantine. They came up for a week out of Dallas to stay with family. He's got two kids now. Camden's a little over two, and Addison just turned one this last week. So he's got his hands full, and just trying to keep up. I think is his main job.
Yeah, good for him. And again, it's always fun you know um, to have that play that lives forever in cowboy lore. And just like we mentioned, some of the plays with you. Your brother, who was a walk on, played at NEO, which I can relate to that with Zach over there coaching. Has a play that will live forever. I mean, everybody, oh, you're Colton, you're Colton. Oh, wow, I remember that catch. I mean, he
Yep,
he can. That probably can still get him a free meal or a free beer in Stillwater. So that's
I bet
good.
it could. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
hopefully he'll get to test that out this fall, but we'll see.
Hey, Clint, it's great to catch up. Stay well, and we'll look forward to when we can get together and start talking about some broadcasts for this upcoming season.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Robert. Hope you guys stay safe. Hope your family stays safe, and everyone out there. And thanks for having me again.
All right, Clint Chelf, and of course the Chelf Agency over there in Enid, and